Hi students, welcome to Malaradi Memorial School Digital Classroom. In class 9 English, last day we have learned about the story The Snake and the Mirror. It was the air reading of the unit Humor. We have learned that a homeopath, a doctor, narrates his experience of being coiled by a snake, a full-blooded cobra, to his friends. He has described that he lives in a rendered room in which there are plenty of rats. As usual, he came back home at night, 10 o'clock, having his dinner in a restaurant. When he got back, he tried to sleep. He was not able to sleep. He sat on a chair, took a book, the Materia Medica, and started reading it. Let's see what has happened after that. One feels tempted to look into a mirror when it is near. I took a look. In those days, I was great admirer of beauty, and I believed in making myself look handsome. I was unmarried and was a doctor. I felt I had to make my presence felt. I picked up the comb and ran it through my hair and adjusted the parting so that it looked straight and neat. Again, I heard the sound from the above. So we have learned that there was a big mirror on the wall just in front of the table, and there was a comb. One feels tempted to look into the mirror when it is near. It's a common thing. When we move around, if you reach the place where the mirror is placed, what do? You just have a glance at the mirror. It is common. We just look at the mirror and adjust our hair. The author, the narrator, took a look. Narrator took a look at the mirror. In those days, he was a great admirer of beauty, and he believed in making himself look handsome. He was an unmarried and was a doctor, so he felt that he had to make his presence feel others. If he is neatly groomed, people will admire him. He was an unmarried person. He was after all a doctor, so he wanted to groom himself neat and clean. So what he did, he just picked up the comb that was on the table and ran through the hair. He adjusted the parting neatly so that it looked straight and neat. Again he heard the same voice from above. I took a close look at my face in the mirror. I made an important decision. I would shave daily and grow a thin mustache to look more handsome. I was, after all, a bachelor and a doctor. Author just went near the mirror and he was just looking at the mirror, looking at his own reflection in the mirror, grooming himself. Then he made an important decision when he started looking at the mirror. He would shave daily. He would shave daily and grow a thin mustache, which makes him look more handsome. After all, he was a bachelor. After all, he was a doctor. Once when we are in our young age, we do all this. We try to make ourselves look more beautiful. Just remember, the unit theme is humor. So the author has written it so beautifully to give us the sense of humor everywhere. I looked in the mirror and smiled. It was an attractive smile. I made another earth-shaking decision. I would always keep that attractive smile on my face. To look more handsome, I was after all a bachelor and doctor too on top of it. He looked into the mirror again and started smiling. It was an attractive smile. When he saw his smile in the mirror, he took an earth-shaking decision. Earth-shaking decision is nothing but a very, very important decision. What is the decision that he has taken? Yes, he would always keep the smile on his face. To look more handsome, the smile makes him look more handsome. After all, he is a bachelor and a doctor on top of it. The phrase, after all, he is a bachelor and doctor, is repeated 2-3 times to instill the sense of humor. Again came the noise from the above. It's almost 2-3 times the other narrator was hearing, the doctor was hearing the noise from the above. I got up, lit a beedi and paced up and down the room. Then another lovely thought struck me. I would marry. I would get married to a woman doctor who had plenty of money and good medical practice. She had to be fat for a valid reason. If I made some silly mistakes and needed to run away, she should not be able to run after me and catch me. Father heard the noise from the above again. Father got up, lit a beedi, paced up and down, moved up and down, walked up and down. Then another lovely, very interesting thought came to his mind. What is the thought? Yes, I would marry. I would get married to a woman doctor who has plenty of money. I would get married to a woman doctor who has plenty of medical practice, good medical practice. One thing, one condition, she should be fat. The woman that the doctor is going to marry should be fat. Usually we don't know. You may think, is the doctor out of sense? He wishes to marry a fat woman. There is a reason for that. What is the reason? If he does any silly mistakes and he had to run away, the woman whom he marries should not be able to catch him. That is the reason he has to marry a fat woman. With such thoughts in my mind, I resumed my seat in the chair in front of the table. There were no more sounds from the above. Suddenly there came a dull thud as if a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. With these all thoughts of getting married, thoughts of growing a mustache, thoughts of keeping a smile on the face, with all these thoughts, he resumed his seat. He completed his beedi. He came back to his seat, sat there in front of the table. There were now no sound. Suddenly there came a dull thud. Thud is a dull sound. If you drop a rubber tube or if you drop a tire, we don't hear any sharp sound. We hear a dull sound. As if a rubber tube had fallen to the ground, he heard a dull sound. Surely nothing to worry about it. Even so, I thought I would turn around and take a look. No sooner had I turned than a fat snake wriggled over the back of the chair and landed on my shoulder. The snake's landing on me and my turning were simultaneous. Other thought nothing to worry. The sound usually happens because there are plenty of rats. But however, he decided to have a look at the thing what has fallen. No sooner had he had just turned back than a fat snake wriggled over the back of the chair, moved in a zigzag manner. Wriggled means move in a zigzag manner over the back of the chair and landed on his shoulder. The snake landed on the doctor's shoulder. The snake's landing and his turning were almost simultaneous. Simultaneous means at a time. This both happened at a time. Let us see what has happened. Look, there is a picture which describes his room, his table, and a very, very fat snake on the table. You yourself may get frightened looking at this. I didn't jump, I didn't tremble, I didn't cry out. There was no time to do any such thing. The author didn't jump and run. When we see a snake, what do? We get so much emotional and run away. He didn't tremble. Tremble means shiver out of fear. He didn't cry even because there was no time to do that. The snake slithered along my shoulder and coiled around my left arm above the elbow. The snake slithered means move slowly. Slithered means move slowly. The snake slithered along his shoulder, coiled around his left arm above the elbow in this part. The hood was spread out and its head was hardly 3 or 4 inches from my face. Hood is the spread part of the head of the snake. It was spread out and It was hardly 3 or 4 inches from his face. It would not be correct to say merely that I sat there holding my breath. I was turned to stone, but my mind was very active. The door opened into darkness. The room was surrounded by darkness. In the light of the lamp, I sat there like a stone image in the flesh. Just see, it is not correct to say that he merely sat there holding his breath. He was turned to stone. What do you mean by turned to stone? Became motionless, transfixed with fear. He couldn't move, but his mind was very active. He saw the door was open, the room was surrounded by darkness. In the light of the lamp, he just sat there like a stone image. I felt then the great presence of the creator of this world and this universe. God was there. Suppose I said something and he did not like it. I tried in my imagination to write in bright letters outside my little heart the words of God. He then understood the presence of God, the creator of the universe. He tried in his imagination to reach out to God, to call God. So he wrote in bright letters in his heart. He couldn't speak out as he was afraid, frightened. Oh God. There was some pain in my left arm. It was as if a thick leaden rod, no, a rod made of molten fire was slowly but powerfully crushing my arm. The arm was beginning to be drained of all strength. What could I do? There was some pain in his left arm because the snake has coiled around his arm. It was like a leaden rod, a lead rod. He says, no, it's not a lead rod. It is a molten fire. Just imagine, melt. V3 form is molten. Melt V3 form is molten. Molten fire was there, powerfully crushing his arm. He felt it so. It's just an imagination. It's just a comparison. The snake coiling his left arm is resembling the molten fire crushing his arm. He started to lose strength, drain strength in some. What do you mean by drain strength? Lose strength. What could I do? At my slightest movement, the snake would strike me. Death lurked 4 inches away. Suppose it struck, what was the medicine I had to take? There were no medicine in the room. I was but a foolish and stupid doctor. I forgot my danger and smiled feebly at myself. At the slightest move the doctor made, the snake would surely strike him. Death was just 4 inches away. Lurked means death roamed 4 inches away. Suppose it strike, what medicine should he take? There was no medicine for snake bite in his room. After all, he is a poor, foolish, stupid doctor is what he says. He forgot the danger and smiled feebly. Feebly means gently. It seemed as if God appreciated that. The snake turned its head. It looked into the mirror and saw its reflection. I do not claim that it was the first snake that had ever looked into a mirror, but it was certain that the snake was looking into the mirror. Was it admiring its own beauty? Was it trying to make an important decision about growing a mustache or using eyeshadow and mascara or wearing a vermilion spot on his forehead? It seemed that God has appreciated his courage. The snake slowly turned. It started looking at the mirror, at its own reflection in the mirror. Author says that he does not claim that it is the first snake that has looked at the reflection in the mirror, but certain that the snake was looking into the mirror. Was the snake admiring its beauty? Was the snake looking at the mirror and praising its own beauty? Was it trying to make an important decision like growing mustache, like the doctor was making, looking at the mirror and he made a few decisions before growing a mustache? Was the snake also doing the same, looking at the mirror and taking a decision about growing a mustache or using eyeshadow, eyebrows or mascara on the eyebrows, eyelid? Or is the snake planning to put a vermilion spot? Vermilion spot is nothing but a round spot on the forehead. Is it the thought going on in the mind of the snake? We have learned that the snake landed in the author's shoulder. The situation that the doctor has undergone is clearly described here. That's the end of this session. Let us see the rest of the session rest of the content in the next session.